Solo Limo is from a place called Masifao, American Samoa. He was born on February 26, 1970 in American Samoa. I work with him as a security guard in San Francisco. We have sat across from each other and talked and ate. He tells me about back home, about fishing at night with a spear and a snorkel. He tells me and talks about the lobster and the fish and the rice and the bananas and how the elders cook the pig using rocks and leaves. We sit across from each other, me, a Filipino, and he is Samoan. And I feel Samoan when he shares his rice and bananas and fish. And he feels Filipino when I share my adobo and pancit. He laughs when I tell him that you might be Samoan, but you act Filipino. Now this is Solo talking. He says, the old people, the elders in Samoa, the young people respect them. Here in the U.S., they don't care. The culture there, everybody respects the elders. You can't leave your parents when you're young, not the way that they do here. Here, the parents, where are they? They don't care. Back home in Samoa, you can't find the young kids running around at midnight. Back home, the culture is more respectful. There's nothing like that over here. Back home, we have evening church.
We are one of the most, if not the most, unhomogeneous countries in the world. It is one country that is made up of many countries, really. Hasn't it been like this ever since the First Nations in one turtle island, the first peoples of this hemisphere? I'll come back to this in a little while. It is in a way a model for the one world, one country view. Yet, we are the most un-global in our knowledge of, our concerns with, and our attitude towards the rest of this planet. We are the only country who uses the name of a whole hemisphere as a reference to us and only us. Sometimes I don't think the us in US and the US in us is a coincidence. When we say Americans, we mean only citizens of the United States. When the world says America, we want them to mean, and many indeed do, only the citizens of the United States. And throughout history, almost everyone, except the other peoples of the North, Central, and South America, interchanges these two names, substituting one for the other freely. The word America, misused over and over, becomes standardized, and it becomes conventional knowledge, and becomes unquestioned. In the process, we have abused our neighbors and confused the population. Therefore, its use should be refused in the end.
Especially because she, like my grandson who fights for his life, she also fights for her life, and my grandson was the reason why I came to this country, which I didn't want to come in the first place because of all the repression it represents. But one thing that I have realized and discovered is that there's a difference between the government of the United States and the beautiful people of the United States.
Y gracias, Taini, por todo tu trabajo.
Thank you, Taini, for your hard work.
Aquí estoy, sentada en todo lo que tengo. Una banca pública, viendo a mi niño Jesús con lágrimas en sus ojos.
Here I am, standing on a bench with everything that I have, looking at my grandson Joey with tears in his eyes.
Possible. So Dignidad Rebelde is basically a visceral project. Jesus and I collaborate on it, and it's translated to be Rebel Dignity in English. It's inspired by the uprising of the Zapatistas, who came out and declared war against Mexico after Mexico signed the free trade agreement, better known as NAFTA. And we see it as the place where Chicanismo and our identity as Chicanas meet Zapatismo. I personally have never been formally trained. My formal training came at swap meets, where my mom would take me to pick fabric out for the clothes that she would make me, because that's all I knew. We couldn't afford store-bought clothes, and So I learned color theory at the swap meet. And I learned construction by learning how to sew because of her. And I learned how to paint when my dad would bring home paper boxes from the company that he worked for. He made paper boxes and printed on them. And in fact, the process that he did in an industrial way is very much like screen printing. So he would bring home paper boxes and we would make, my Halloween costume might be a popcorn box and we would paint it. And he would bring, we would see a dresser in the street that was being thrown away, and that would become my treasure chest, and we would paint it. And so all of those experiences are the formal training that I've received, that I can translate into the art that I work now. And I really have to acknowledge Jesus because he's my mentor now. He has more time under his belt in doing this work. And so in the partnership, I bring the skills that I have been able to teach myself and that other people have taught me. But I also bring the histories that, of being at the swap meet, of being in my dad's garage, and partner that with all of the artists for the people, a lot of whom came out of the mission. You have folks like Juan Alicia, Esther Hernandez. You have folks like Historia, who understood the connection between making art for the people and doing it in partnership for change.
One spirit, one heart, and one soul king. Not me to be cheated on the street and we stay focused on the future of our motherland. White is the world close in our hands. One world will be taken to the promised land. Let's see. Many faces and many facts. Can we survive? Cause still many souls gon' die. We move. We will rise like the bread in the pan. Stand firm in the many like a grain of sand. We build. One nation, only one divide. There's only one common goal we share. We one tribe. It's a lot. Culture for industry, profit up our misery, oppress our ethnicity, then rewrite the history, commit mass atrocities, ignore all our prophecies, destroy all our codices, take our knowledge overseas, kill for greed and spread disease, enslave the kill machines, pollute rivers and the streams, kill the earth that plants the trees, create war more casualties, set up laws and faculties, sell against the faculties, sign treaties and policies, form boundaries and colonies, take our kids in custody, teaching Christianity, set up prisons and police, protect this whole process. They call progress the conquest of Congress and keep us unconscious. When my grandfather was a young boy, my great-grandfather was, my great-grandparents were young. The missionaries came to our village, which is called Hilcano in our language, an hour north from here. And they came to the village and they said, either convert or die. Convert to Christianity and Catholicism or die. That was basically it. They brought guns in, said convert or die. And so my great-grandparents, they decided, hey, we're not going to die, we're going to survive. So they put everything, all the traditional things, the baskets, the traditional regalia on a tule boat, and sent it upstream. Right? And my grandfather, he was raised a Christian. He was sent to boarding school. And he was raised a Christian. And I always asked him, grandfather, how come you're a reverend now? And he tells me, because I didn't have a choice. I was never given a choice to be anything but Christian. He said, you do have a choice.